This podcast is brought to you by Radio 786.
Let's get on top of the first discussion this morning about what's called property hijacking that's on the rise in South Africa, with criminals now targeting residential neighborhoods. Reports are indicating a shift from industrial CBDs to more urban areas, with syndicates allegedly working with the deeds office insiders. Grandi Theunissen is the Tshwane MMC for Community Safety, now on the line with us. A very good morning and welcome to Radio 786. If we could start off with explaining to us what exactly is understood by property hijacking. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity. Yes, let me start by saying it's what we are looking or speaking about right now is hijacking of residential properties in your suburbs. People fake ownership in certain cases, and then open an account with a local municipality in terms of services. And what they then do is they rent these properties out to quite vulnerable people and under very bad circumstances, then who crowd a property. Between 30 and 40 people live in a normal 3-bedroom house. And they occupy more than one property in a suburb. And one of the things that they do is, because of possible work for those people, those vulnerable people, and in most cases it appears to be undocumented foreign nationals.
How is the hijacking, of course, taking place? As you say, they're faking ownership, but aren't there a set of documents, a criteria that would, enable an official in the city or in the deeds office to allow for the occupation of the property? I'm just curious to understand who are they faking the documents, where they're getting the keys, and how they're getting into the properties.
Well, supposedly and on assumption, what happens is people get a lawyer involved, they get somebody from within the municipality involved, and then it appears it could be that even people in the deeds office are involved, and then they basically do the necessary transactions on a property, especially when it's a property that's not been used for quite a while and nobody's been living there for some time, and that's when they will start with this process. And or where the property owner is perhaps living overseas. We've got a lot of people who still have property here who've migrated, and they then grab these properties and start utilizing it for what I've just told you about.
Is there a way to control this sort of thing? Does it require an audit of some kind? I'm curious to understand how police possibly could step in here.
Well, first of all, when we find out about a case like this, obviously we have a task team that's been appointed by the city who are dealing with these matters, because since one or two of them, we acted in one or two of them, the news has spread, and other people from the neighborhoods, the local neighborhoods, come forth and provide us with information. We investigate the matter, and then obviously in the cases that we have dealt or are dealing with currently, we will be doing the necessary investigations as to see how it came about that a consumer account was opened. We can do the internal investigation, and then we also bring South African police services on board, because the Metro Police don't have investigating authority. And it's a process that's taking place. It's quite a new process. It's a lot of speculation on how these things are happening. But one thing we do know is that it appears to be that there's inside information being provided to these syndicates, and obviously all the role players in the syndicate gets a part of the money that this property brings in.
fascinating to hear this sort of thing is happening, because I was going to ask, how do they know the properties are empty, or the properties may well be for sale? Yeah, is there an estate agent? Are these properties just standing vacant and nobody's been occupying them? I'm curious to understand how they would know which home to hijack, as it were.
Well, obviously, in most cases, the properties are standing vacant for quite some time. And these perpetrators are not, they are quite clever. They do surveillance and they do scouting in the areas, and they identify the properties. And I think that's where it starts from. Obviously, then the necessary steps are taken to get the property sort of rented out and made available to them through these syndicates.
What do they say when it is flagged with them? Some of those that have hijacked these buildings or stolen the properties, as it were, it seems to me, the more appropriate term here. But nonetheless, because in Cape Town we've had, and together with national legislation, some of the challenges has been that when somebody occupies a property, then evicting them becomes a legal, complicated challenge. And so in instances where there were occupations of homes unlawfully, what has been the experience then?
Well, it depends on to who this property belongs, and what we have been doing until now. We've applied the bylaws in terms of health regulations, building regulations, fire regulations, and that gives us access to the property. And we've done raids even the day before last night. Or the day before yesterday, we also found another property in also an affluent suburb, and we found 11 vagrants living there, and they've been arrested, all of them undocumented foreign nationals. So, that's how these things happen.
Of course, it's difficult to now simply suggest that this is a crime that's been committed by only just migrants, by foreign nationals. But in your experience, are most of these scenarios, most of these instances, a type of crime that is, in fact, in the majority of being committed by foreign nationals?
Well, let me put it this way. The syndicates are... according to the information we have, predominantly South African people. There are foreign nationals also involved. And they are actually the perpetrators, because they are exploiting these foreign nationals by providing them a safe haven to live in. And these guys are finding work at shopping centers as car guards and general laborers and so forth. So the actual criminals are the people who are exploiting them. Obviously, it's also a criminal offense to be an undocumented foreign national. So we treat them in accordance to that. We also take note of who the so-called landlord are, and we are getting information, and the necessary steps will be taken against them as well.
Yeah. If you permit me, if you're not comfortable, it's completely fine. But I wanted to ask just before I do let you go, and of course, this is a very serious, issue that has and will continue to, I suppose, rear its head. But I quickly want to just, of course, understand, and on a separate matter altogether. If I remember correctly, you are your party card that you carry, of course, is the Freedom Front Plus, and you serve, of course, in this coalition government in Tshwane, which we now understand could be potentially destabilized by the ANC seeking to take over it, much like they've done in the city of Joburg. And there's now talk about, the collaboration between the ANC and Action SA, where Action SA could, take the speaker position again, much like they've done in the city of Johannesburg. What according to your party and the coalition partners in Tshwane, what is the sense at the moment about this looming action that, the ANC and Panyazi Lesufi has warned is likely to happen?
Well, let me start by saying at the moment the coalition in Tshwane seems to be quite stable. We have the assurance from specifically, as you mentioned, Action SA, that they are committed to make this coalition work. And any other attempt to take over and will be a destabilization of the progress that's been made over the past 18 months in terms of turning around the situation in Tshwane. We've improved on our audit from the Auditor General. We've improving our financial position, and also from on other aspects, law and order is steadily being improved. We've employed a series of new top management together with the city manager, and we are restoring discipline in the city. So if another government takes over, it may destabilize. And also one of the things that will come forth is there are quite a lot of investigations that have been brought forward. Forensic investigations been lying in drawers for many years, have been taken out, and action has been taken. A number of senior people have been suspended. We have taken measures, practical measures on the ground to cut off corruption. Even in the Metro Police, we have improved the income from the pound by more than 200% in a matter of 3 months, because we made certain changes and we put in measures to identify that. We are doing the same on finance and supply chain. And all of this will then be destabilized, because I think the ANC may try to stop these processes.
So what I'm hearing from you then is, because Action SA and Freedom Front Plus hold a similar lion's share of votes in Tshwane. Action SA was the party that helped the ANC, get rid of Kabila Kwamanda in the city of Joburg, even though he was there on the ticket of the ANC. And so there was then a transfer in some, but I don't quite think it's been a significant transfer in power in city of Joburg. But if you're saying that Action SA is committed to the coalition, you're not going to be dumping Cllr Brink as the DA mayor there, then the numbers don't quite add up in what Panyazi Sufi is saying. And then according to you, if there's nothing that is a seismic shift in Action SA doesn't quite change their mind, then the coalition is relatively safe.
Yes, that's exactly the point. And I also need to point out, even if Action SA brings the coalition to a fall, they would have to partner not only with the ANC, but with the EFF. And I don't know whether they'll be comfortable to take those steps. But they would also then be recognized in the city, where we've got a lot of support from various avenues, such as the business sector, educational sector, and many others, home associations and so forth. Mm-hmm. They will also be discrediting themselves should they take a step like that. They have got 2 MMCs. They've got a court case pending for the removal of the speaker, and internally we have agreed that we will support Action SA for the position of the speaker. So that would be breaking all this contract and all this agreements between the current coalition and Action SA. And I don't think that they would do something like that. Okay. I truly hope not.
Well, things can change very quickly in politics, but by reading so far the numbers, if Action SA stays the course, then the coalition will remain in the city of Tshwane. Thanks very much for coming onto the program this morning. A representative there from the Freedom Front Plus to the latter, talking politics of Tshwane and the coalition there. But Grandi Theunissen, is the MMC for community safety in Tshwane as part of that coalition government there.
This podcast is brought to you by Radio 786.